In our last video, we were in the border city of Texarkana, straddling the border of Texas and Arkansas. Of course, we strolled the streets of the historic downtown. We learned about the city's ties to some musical legends. And of course, we checked out some of the street art. In this video,
we're in Pittsburg, Kansas.
Pittsburg, Kansas is the 9th stop on what we are calling Wanderlust 2025, our road trip from Central Florida to Kansas and back again. If you're interested in any of those cities you see on the map, we should have videos posted or will very shortly.
Today we're in Pittsburg, Kansas, which is in the eastern part of the state. We're on our way from Wichita down to Arkansas. We're going to Fayetteville, Arkansas. And so this was on the way. It wasn't a planned stop, but we thought we would check it out. Pittsburg was founded in 1876 along a railroad line. It has a current population of about 20,000. It's the largest city in Crawford County, which has a total population of about 35,000.
And as I'm sure you've noticed on this particular day, it was incredibly windy, making doing our usual updates rather difficult.
This is the Commerce Building, which opened in 1908 as the National Bank of Commerce. These placards talk about the city's history, which is rich with coal mining and smelters for zinc ore processing. Mining declined after World War I, and now the city is a mix of industry, agriculture, trade, and higher education.
If you're new to our videos, our game plan is as follows. We go into a little town, usually one we've done no research on. We find what looks like the main street, and we take off from there. We walk the main street both sides, and then head down any side streets or parallel streets that look interesting.
Pittsburg, Kansas was named for Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but they dropped the H.
And the placards in this city park will teach you more about the history.
This pays homage to the city's history with coal mining. While Crawford County currently has a population of 35,000, it peaked at 90,000 in 1920, largely due to the coal industry.
We were pleasantly surprised to find this town had quite a bit of street art. If you watch our videos, you know we definitely appreciate that, and there will be a section towards the end of the video that highlights some of the things we found along the way.
Back in the day, people in this part of Kansas were known as troublemakers. There were really two reasons. European immigrants continued to make wine even during Prohibition, and women protested during a coal mining strike. They got arrested and they got national attention. The governor then started calling this area the Little Balkans. It was meant to be derogatory, but the people embraced it, and to this day they hold Little Balkans Days in August.
That's what's great about traveling. It seems like every town or city we visit has its own unique story to tell.
We saw a couple signs for breweries in town, and what's kind of funny is bootlegging in this area was common, and this county was dry until 1986. Apparently, Pittsburg, Kansas is also the epicenter of what's known as the Chicken Wars, which were shown on one of the food and travel channels. This is a war between Chicken Marys and Chicken Annies, which goes back to 1934.
You can see here we're starting to get a little bit into the weeds on the outskirt of the core of the downtown, so we decided to turn around and head our way back into the heart of the city. Love that the city has some of the old cobblestone streets and sidewalks. Or brick? I don't know. What's the difference between cobblestone and brick? Cobblestone sounds funner to say, so I'm going to stick with that. And to the right, you can see there's some construction going on, so they're definitely still working on revitalizing this downtown.
The white building across the street is the Biles Brothers Bakery, which opened in 1900. They boasted they had the only first-class baker in the city. It was a pastry chef from Chicago. Unfortunately, it closed in 1923. Here we are at the intersection of 4th and Broadway. The city began here with 4 buildings on this intersection, and 2 of those 4 original buildings are still standing. Here you see Hotel Bess, or it might be Hotel Bessie. It was built in 1926, and it's the tallest building in Pittsburgh. It's now being renovated by Pittsburg State University. The ground floor will be a center for reading, and the upper floors will have student apartments.
I absolutely love that they've found a way to repurpose that fantastic old building. So if you're trying to follow along on a map, we're now back on the main street. And I'm sure you've noticed a gorilla theme throughout the downtown, throughout this video. That's because that's the mascot of the local university.
Yeah, fun fact, they are the only university in the United States with gorilla as their mascot, and they adopted it in 1925.
One thing we always love about checking out the small towns of Kansas is most of the old historical buildings are still intact and still in use. Pittsburgh's no exception. Great use of outdoor space here. Another thing we love about downtowns is they generally don't have any chain retail or restaurants. Usually that's where you find your mom and pop stuff, which of course you should always support. Check out this turret-looking addition to that building. Fantastic. And here we are chasing some interesting old buildings on one of the side streets. Obviously, this little section of downtown was a bit of disrepair, but that shouldn't discourage you from checking it out, because you never know what you'll find, including some pretty cool hidden artwork that you won't see from the main street.
While we didn't include footage of Pittsburg State University in this video, because it's not right downtown, it's a few miles out, this downtown definitely supports the university, and that was evident. Pittsburg State University was founded in 1903. It has about 7,400 students. Interestingly, their football program goes back to 1908, and since then, they have had the most NCAA Division II wins in history. They've been 4-time national champions.
Here you see parallel to the main street is what we assume is the local paper, and next to that is the post office.
Here we we see Hotel Stillwell. It was built in 1890, and because there were no brick plants in the area at the time of construction and it was too expensive to transport bricks, they actually built a brick manufacturing plant on site. By 1889, bricks were being made not just for this hotel, but for the streets of Pittsburgh. During World War II, the Army took over this hotel and used it as housing for men training as glider pilots at an airport west of Pittsburgh. Since then, it was turned into apartments. In recent years, the first floor is a ballroom and event venue.
And as you can see, it's getting a little sparse here, so we decided this was a good time to turn around and head back into the heart of the downtown. And we were very disappointed that we weren't able to check out this cool old cafe, as it's mostly a breakfast place open from 7 to noon. And here's a closer look at Hotel Stillwell. Check out the awesome detail around the entrance. In case I didn't mention it earlier, we're there on a Thursday afternoon, and you can see the downtown is quite happening.
This facade was part of the Masonic Lodge, which was built in 1879. Unfortunately, it was torn down in 1999 due to disrepair, but they decided to leave the arches there.
Some more cool street art to check out as we head to a parallel street. Check out the entryway to this church.
The Pittsburgh Memorial Auditorium was built in 1925. It's a 1,500-seat auditorium hosting plays, concerts, and events on the upper level, and a convention center on the lower level. The Colonial Fox Theater was built in 1920. It's a 1,200-seat theater. At the time it opened, it was the largest and most modern theater in Kansas. It became vacant in the mid-1980s, and restoration began in 2006. It now hosts events.
And as promised, here's the street art section we referenced earlier in the video, and then we'll be back to wrap this video up. All right, what'd you think of Pittsburg?
I liked it. I love how the town has embraced their college, Pittsburg State University. So it's everywhere in town, and I love that an old hotel down here is getting fixed up. It's awesome. Thought it was great.
Yeah, this 20 years ago would have been exactly the type of place we would have just blown by. A little town we've never heard of in a state that's not very touristy. And this is why I love traveling. I actually had a good time. Definitely a lot of the state university presence down here. As Caroline said, there's some renovations. We saw some old buildings that have been converted to housing. And of course we saw some empty ones too, but it overall was actually in pretty nice condition, and we had a good time. So glad we stopped.
Me too.
Give it a thumbs up.
Me too.
All right, get off the couch. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.